marked with a specific symbol. 46 of those symbols meant the same thing. Life exists there, but one symbol was different. One star system had a mark that translated to something far more disturbing.
In 1889, beneath the dust-choked ruins of southern Mesopotamia, a French excavation team working near the ancient city of Nippur uncovered a clay tablet so badly damaged that it was almost thrown into a crate of useless fragments. It was small, barely larger than a human hand. Its edges were broken. Its surface was burned black in places, and across its face were lines of wedge-shaped Sumerian script that, at first, seemed no different from thousands of other tablets pulled from the earth. Inventory records, grain accounts, temple offerings, prayers to forgotten gods. But this tablet was different, because hidden among the damaged lines was a passage that made no sense. It did not describe taxes. It did not describe kings. It did not describe a normal ritual. It described a migration underground, not a burial, not a shelter, not a symbolic journey into the underworld, a mass movement of people into chambers beneath the earth. The number was incomplete, but the surviving marks suggested something staggering. Tens of thousands, possibly close to 90,000 people, sealed themselves below the surface under the command of temple astronomers. And the reason written on the tablet was even more disturbing. They were not hiding from an army. They were not hiding from a flood. They were not hiding from famine. They were hiding from something that came at night, something the tablet called the hunters from the upper dark. At first, nobody knew how to explain it. The official interpretation was simple. It was myth, religious poetry, a dramatic description of demons from the sky, another ancient attempt to explain fear, darkness, and disaster through divine language. That was the safe explanation. But the deeper researchers looked, the stranger it became. Because the tablet did not read like poetry. It read like instructions. It mentioned sealed air shafts, rotating watches, food counts, water channels, marked entrances, and a cycle of nights counted not by the moon, but by the rising of a specific star. This was not mythology. This was not metaphor. This was a technical description. And if a translation is even partly accurate, then somewhere in the oldest layers of human memory is the record of a civilization that believed something was hunting people from above. Before we go deeper, subscribe now, because the tablet is only the beginning. What it connects to later is far more unsettling than a single broken piece of clay. Modern history tells us the Sumerians were advanced for their time, and that is true. They built cities when much of the world still lived in small villages. They created one of the earliest known writing systems. They tracked trade, law, kingship, grain, cattle, temples, and astronomy with astonishing precision. They understood mathematics well enough to build accounting systems and measurement tables that influenced later civilizations for thousands of years. Their sacred numbers still echo today. 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 360 degrees in a circle. These are not random. They come from a worldview obsessed with cycles, measurement, and the movement of the heavens. The Sumerians watched the sky carefully. They recorded lunar phases. They tracked planetary movements. They connected celestial patterns to agriculture, kingship, and divine authority. But modern history still places a limit on them. Advanced, yes, but still ancient. No telescopes, no satellites, no electric light, no seismographs, no computers, no modern astronomy, no way to map the sky with the precision of later science. And definitely no reason to describe a coordinated evacuation of an entire population into underground cities because something in the heavens was approaching. But the tablets say otherwise. In several fragments connected to temple archives at Nippur, Eridu, and later Nineveh, there are recurring references to days of covering, nights when the mouths of the earth were opened, and watchers who descended after the star returned. Most scholars treat these as ritual phrases. The earth opening is the underworld. The watchers are gods. The star is symbolic. The people hiding underground are souls passing into death. But that interpretation becomes harder when the same texts mention practical details. Clay seals, door stones, smoke vents, ration jars, noise discipline, children counted in groups, priests watching the sky from roof platforms until the final signal was given. Ancient people often used symbolic language, yes, But symbolism does not usually require ventilation shafts. That is where the story becomes difficult to dismiss. The central tablet, later catalogued in private notes as Fragment N 4217, was reportedly stored for decades among other damaged administrative pieces. It did not attract much attention because most of its opening lines were missing. But in 1912, a young Assyriologist named Dr. Elias Marek, working from copies of Nippur tablets in Istanbul and Berlin, noticed that one phrase appeared repeatedly across unrelated fragments. The people below must not light the upper fires. At first, Marek assumed it was ritual language, a warning against temple impurity. But then he found a second line. The hunters see flame through the skin of the earth. That phrase disturbed him, not because it sounded supernatural, but because it sounded tactical. It suggested concealment. It suggested surveillance. It suggested that whoever wrote the instruction believed the danger could detect light, heat, or movement from above. By 1915, Marek had gathered references from at least 7 different fragments. Some came from temple archives. Some were later copies. Some were badly damaged, but the pattern was there. A warning period, a star cycle, a descent underground, a prohibition against fire, a command to seal entrances before the third night, and a number repeated in one translation as 9 tens of thousands without one full count, which later researchers interpreted as either a poetic number or a scribal approximation. 90,000. Of course, mainstream scholars dismissed the idea immediately. They argued that the number was exaggerated. Ancient texts often inflate populations. They argued that the hunters were demons. They argued that the underground chambers referred to graves, not shelters. And maybe they were right, but then something changed. In the 20th century, archaeologists began discovering vast underground structures in different parts of the ancient world. Not just tombs, not just caves, entire subterranean systems. In Cappadocia, Turkey, underground, cities like Derinkuyu and Kaymakli were carved deep into the volcanic rock, with ventilation shafts, rolling stone doors, food storage rooms, wells, and spaces large enough to hold thousands of people. The official explanation is practical. People hid from invaders. They used underground spaces during war. That explanation works, but it does not answer the older question. Why do so many ancient traditions remember a time when humanity went below the earth to survive something from above? Here's where it gets strange. The Sumerian fragment does not say the people feared men. It uses a word associated with pursuit, with tracking, with beings that move between the sky and the land. And one damaged passage appears to describe the sound before their arrival. Not thunder, not wind, not chariots, a metallic crying over the plain. That line was almost certainly why conservative translators avoided a literal reading. Because once you translate it directly, the text stops sounding like a myth about demons. It begins to sound like a memory of technology. The safe explanation was mythology. But mythology does not usually contain evacuation protocols. Calling it coincidence only works until the same coincidence appears across multiple tablets. Dismissing it as primitive religion becomes harder when the numbers match physical realities. Air shafts, sealed chambers, hidden entrances, food storage, water control, silent movement, and celestial timing. The disturbing alternative is not that the Sumerians were confused. The disturbing alternative is that they were preserving a real event in the only language they had. Gods, watchers, hunters, stars, commands, warnings, a sky that was no longer safe. When Dr. Elias Marek began comparing the ancient text with known Mesopotamian star cycles, he expected symbolic mythology. What he found instead was a mathematical structure. The warning period seemed connected to the heliacal rising of a star group that later cultures associated with danger, judgment, and renewal. Marek believed the text was tracking a recurring celestial event, not just a festival, a return. His private notes, quoted years later by an independent researcher named Samuel Oren in 1968, described the tablet as a survival document disguised by religion. That phrase ruined the seriousness of the work. Universities did not want to touch it. Museums did not promote it. Scholars who depended on funding had little reason to risk their careers by arguing that an ancient tablet might describe a forgotten catastrophe involving something moving through the sky. So the artifact was not destroyed. It was not publicly debated. It was simply absorbed into the gray ocean of broken cuneiform fragments. stored, referenced, ignored. That is how uncomfortable discoveries disappear. They are not burned. They are not dramatically hidden behind locked doors. They are labeled symbolic, placed in storage, and forgotten. But the numbers did not go away. Modern science has confirmed something that ancient people understood better than we expected. The sky has never been stable. Earth has been struck before by meteorites, by climate shocks, by solar storms, by volcanic winters, by events that turned day into darkness and forced living things into shelter. Scientists now know that extreme solar activity can damage technology, alter radiation exposure, and disturb Earth's magnetic environment. Geologists know that ancient climate disruptions happen suddenly. Astronomers know that objects from deep space pass through the inner solar system without warning. They had no telescopes, no satellites, no computers, no atmospheric sensors. And yet ancient civilizations across the world recorded cycles of destruction coming from above. Fire from the sky, serpents in the heavens, gods descending, stars that brought death, warnings to hide, instructions to wait underground until the danger passed. What if the Sumerian tablet was not describing monsters? What if hunters was the ancient word for something else? A force, a phenomenon, a group, a machine, a returning presence. The text says the hunters came after the star. That detail matters, because if the star was symbolic, then the story remains religious. But if the star was observational, then the tablet becomes something very different. A calendar, a warning system, a countdown. And this is where the mystery becomes bigger than one artifact. The same structure appears again and again. In Mesopotamia, the gods descend from the heavens and give knowledge to humanity. In Egypt, the sky is not empty. It is alive with beings, cycles, and judgment. In the Mayan world, calendars track enormous periods of time and connect celestial movement with human ages. In the Hopi traditions, humanity survives world-ending destruction by going into protected spaces beneath the earth. In the Dogon oral tradition, controversial accounts describe star knowledge that some researchers argued was far more advanced than expected. In flood myths across the world, a warning comes before destruction, and only those who follow instructions survive. Different languages, different landscapes, different gods, but the pattern remains. Something happens in the sky. A warning is given. A chosen group survives. The old world ends. A new age begins. Mainstream history treats these as separate myths because separation is safe. It keeps every story inside its own culture, its own religion, its own symbolic framework. But what if they are fragments of the same broken memory? What if ancient civilizations were not inventing sky beings because they were primitive? What if they were remembering sky beings because something happened? The Sumerian tablet does not give us a clean answer. It gives us something more dangerous, a partial record, a broken instruction, a warning without the full context. And maybe that is why it feels so unsettling, because the most disturbing artifacts are not the ones that explain everything. They are the ones that explain just enough to make silence impossible. If the tablet is accurate, then at least one ancient community believed survival required disappearing underground in massive numbers. They believed the threat arrived according to a celestial cycle. They believed light could expose them. They believed sound could betray them. They believed the surface was temporarily lost. And when the danger passed, they came back up. Imagine that moment. Thousands of people emerging from the earth after days in darkness. Children who had been forced not to cry. Families who had counted water jars by torchless touch. Priests climbing the watch platforms again. The first fires lit only after the sky was declared safe, and above them the same stars. Silent, cold, unexplaining. What had they seen before they went below? What had happened to those who stayed above? The tablet does not say clearly, but one damaged line near the end is often translated in fragments as, "Those who opened early were not found whole." That sentence, whether literal or symbolic, is the heart of the nightmare, because it means the fear was not theoretical. Someone disobeyed. Someone opened the sealed entrance. Someone went out too soon. And what came back into the record was not a triumph. It was a warning. The dark implication is simple. If the ancient writers were right about the cycle, what else were they right about? If they accurately preserved survival instructions, then why did later generations turn the event into myth? Was it because they no longer understood the technology? Was it because the truth was too terrifying? Or was it because the ones who taught them to hide did not want the memory preserved too clearly? The Sumerians often wrote about beings called the Anunnaki, powerful figures associated with heaven, earth, kingship, knowledge, and judgment. Mainstream scholars understand them as deities within the Mesopotamian religious system. But alternative researchers have long asked a forbidden question. What if the gods were not gods in the way we imagine? What if they were remembered as gods because there was no other category available? If something descended from the sky thousands of years ago, if it commanded cities, warned priests, gave measurements, demanded obedience, and returned according to cycles, ancient people would not call it extraterrestrial. They would call it divine. And if those same beings also warned humanity to hide from something else, then the story becomes even darker. Because maybe the hunters were not the gods. Maybe the hunters were what even the gods feared. That possibility is why the tablet refuses to stay quiet. It turns mythology into testimony. It turns underground cities into evidence. It turns star calendars into alarm systems. And it turns human history into something far less comforting than progress. We like to believe civilization is a straight line. Caves to farms, farms to cities, cities to empires, empires to science, science to space. But ancient records do not always describe a straight line. They describe rises and collapses, ages destroyed by water, ages destroyed by fire, knowledge given, lost, hidden, and recovered. Civilizations that look upward not with curiosity, but with fear. And maybe that is the oldest human instinct. Not worship, not wonder, fear of the sky. So why do institutions avoid these interpretations? Not because every scholar is hiding something. Not because every museum is part of a conspiracy. The truth is simpler and maybe more powerful. Academic systems protect what can be safely proven. Careers are built on caution. Funding follows accepted frameworks. A tablet about demons is safe. A tablet about ritual descent into the underworld is safe. A tablet describing 90,000 people hiding underground from sky hunters is not safe. It raises too many questions. It invites ridicule. It threatens timelines. It forces conversations no institution wants to host. So the artifact remains what many uncomfortable artifacts become. A curiosity, a fragment, a note, a myth, not disproven, just buried beneath safer language. The easiest way to erase a discovery is not to destroy it. It is to make serious people afraid to discuss it. And that may be why these stories survive better in whispers than in textbooks. Because whispers can carry what institutions cannot. The fear, the pattern, the warning, the sense that something happened before history began writing itself with confidence. So what does this mean for us? If the tablets were right, then human history is not a simple climb from ignorance to knowledge. It is a broken memory, a record of survival, a warning left in clay. And maybe the greatest mystery is not why ancient people hid underground. Maybe the greater mystery is who told them when to hide, who watched the sky closely enough to know the cycle was returning, who built the chambers, who counted the days, who decided 90,000 people had to disappear beneath the surface before the third night. And what did they hear above them while they waited? The official answer is myth. The safer answer is metaphor. But the tablet does not feel safe. It feels like a message from people who saw something we have forgotten. People who understood that civilization can vanish, that knowledge can become legend, that warnings can survive long after the reason for them has been erased. And if the cycle was real, are we already inside it? If the hunters came once, did they leave forever? Or did they simply move beyond the range of ancient eyes, waiting for the same star to rise again? The Sumerians watched the heavens because they believed the sky spoke. Maybe they were wrong. Maybe they turned fear into religion and disaster into gods. But maybe they were right. Maybe the sky was never empty. Maybe the old stories were not created to entertain us. Maybe they were created to prepare us. And maybe the real question is not whether something hunted humanity in the ancient past. Maybe the real question is whether humanity survived because someone warned us. If this made you question what you were taught about human history, subscribe now. Because in the next video, we are going deeper into the tablet researchers avoided for decades. The one that does not describe the hunters arriving, but what happened after they left. And if that translation is correct, then the story of humanity did not begin with us, and it may not end with us either.